I'm sure by now you're aware of the controversy surrounding the protagonist of the new upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows. Unfortunately, that situation has gotten worse, much worse. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this subject, I do have to mention a little something that somebody commented on our previous videos. Turns out the pricing for this game is extortionate. However, I do have to say that the pricing is still very similar to the pricing on a lot of other AAA games that get released by other companies as well. I think it's particularly damaging in this case because, let's be honest, most Ubisoft games are pretty much the same game, reskinned with slightly different mechanics. So this game better have some kind of revolutionary gameplay for it to justify the price tag. I would also like to mention that here in the United Kingdom, you have the £60 standard edition, the £90 odd gold edition. Now the gold edition is the base game plus the season pass. Unfortunately, and to be fair, a lot of AAA games nowadays have similar prices. But I do have to mention certain scummy practices that take place when it comes to Ultimate Editions or even pre-orders in general. The Ultimate Edition is the game that a lot of people are referring to, which is around $130. In the United Kingdom, that price is around £115. But you have to understand, that's £115 for just a digital game. It's not like you are getting some kind of physical figure with it or something. Another thing, and this is particularly what's quite annoying about Ultimate Editions, is that if you read the Ultimate Edition descriptions, the details about the season pass in particular are disturbing. Because if you notice, the season pass says includes 2 upcoming expansions, okay, plus extra missions or extra mission, just one, available at launch. Now that is something to think about because we all know that these games essentially have the content in the files that you download when you download this game on launch day. But they artificially lock the missions to force you to pay for the season pass, and that is absolutely scummy and disgusting. Now the next point to talk about is that there is a bit of a war going on Wikipedia, where activists are actively trying to change the information there to suit their own agenda. And then when people counter that editing with actual historical facts, these activists have quite literally been going online, on Twitter, on Reddit, and have been trying to gaslight people by claiming that it is white supremacists that are preventing people from claiming that Yasuke was in fact a black samurai. Even though there are Japanese people out there who've shown literally from sources that that was not the case. In addition to this, some people have been posting references to Britannica online, saying, well, this is what Britannica says. Unfortunately, the way things have gone in the last few years, a lot of academia is full of falsehoods right down to school levels. Even now, in British schools, during Black History Month, a lot of people are taught a fake history about so-called black tutors. By the way, does nobody think about these leaps of logic that people make? You have somebody that you are claiming is the only black samurai to have existed. Do you not think that somebody so unique would have had more written about him? Or more about how he became a samurai? Also, do we really think that it's only samurais that received a stipend, or a short sword, or a house? By that logic, a lot of these servants were basically samurai. And last but not least, you have a guy who can't even communicate in Japanese. You really think that any lord worth his salt is gonna put him in a squad of samurai? Somebody who can't even communicate with the rest of the samurais if things go down. By the way, it's quite ironic when you think about it that the so-called white supremacists are in fact defending the culture and the history of a foreign people, of a foreign nation. Interestingly, a lot of these peoples are also being labeled as Trump supporters. So let me get this straight. According to these activists, Trump supporters are nationalists who only care about America, who think America could never do no wrong, and that they want to continue some kind of boomer wars from back in the day. Yet, they are here defending Japan that was literally at odds with America during World War II. And let us not think that this is only a criticism from Western audiences. You see, Japanese fans of Assassin's Creed are also voicing their displeasure at Ubisoft. And I'm not surprised, considering most of the Assassin's Creed games have usually had a protagonist that was ethnically native to the game setting. On that note, IGN and other game journalists have been hard at work at releasing propaganda puff pieces, painting any of the critics as a bunch of racist bigots. IGN specifically states that people weren't complaining when there was a white protagonist in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. But let's not forget that Assassin's Creed Black Flag was chronologically the sequel to the Ezio trilogy. It would make sense that the descendant of Ezio Auditore would come out of Europe or somewhere close to Europe. And of course, let us not forget that these same far-left activists have spent a better part of the last decade persuading people that colonialism, piracy, and the slave trade were somehow exclusively white institutions. And now, the same activists have the audacity to turn around and say, well, people weren't complaining about the white pirate in Black Flag. Also, funnily enough, all these game journalists are forgetting about a little game called Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry. Nobody was complaining about that game because that game setting and the protagonist actually made some sense. Not only did we have a black protagonist in an Assassin's Creed game, but the only criticism the game seems to have gotten was that the Assassin's Creed formula had started to feel stale. But the cream on the top of this situation is IGN's special video defending Assassin's Creed Shadows. First of all, let me just put this out there. It was sort of funny of how they tried to find the most Asian looking guy in the office to try presenting the video. I don't know about you, but looks low-key racist to me. Also, rather hilariously, they introduced to us the so-called historical expert who is working on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Well, it turns out that a lot of her work revolves around reducing the stigma around transgenerational sex by using examples of it from history. That's right, ladies and gents, the so-called historical expert of Assassin's Creed Shadows is a literal pedo defender. Now, depending on how much freedom she's been given on the narrative, I suppose we'll have to get ready for some man-boy love in Assassin's Creed Shadows. As if they couldn't stoop any lower. Anyway, what do you think of the situation? Hit that like button, share this video with whoever you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Tenable Gaming.